Hello everyone, it's Suey here. Today, I want to talk about local authors. Let's start with a story. Story time today. Back in the day, I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2010 or so, 9 or 10, the book blogging world was taking off in my local area. So we got together with bloggers and we invited authors to come to our little parties. And we had several come at the first, and then more and more came, and then more and more came, and pretty soon we were having a party where we would have, like, I don't know, 25, 30 authors and bloggers mingling together. That was in the heyday of our blogging era, yeah. And it was so much fun. Along with that, when we started having those gatherings and get-togethers and started making connections with the authors as bloggers, we decided we would call August our local author month. So I live in Utah, so we called this Utah Book Month or Utah Author Month or something. I can't remember what we called it now. We would spend the entire month highlighting and celebrating our Utah authors, and we would interview them for our blogs. We would have Twitter chats, and we would have games and quizzes and prizes and Instagram scavenger hunt kind of things. And oh my gosh, we had so much fun. And I would usually read, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 books by Utah authors in a month, and then go on my blog and review all those books. So it was really fun. So those days are over. Blogging has gone out of fashion. The connection between bloggers and authors no longer really exists anymore. It makes me really sad, but we still have a huge, awesome crop of authors here in this state that I love to go to the events for and to support their launches and signings, and when I go to the writers conference, there's most of the authors are there, and so they have a great big mass signing. And so I'm still kind of following what some of them do, but the whole pile of authors that I remember as a blogger has kind of switched over a little bit. And so some of these people, I don't even know if they've moved or if they're still around or what. But what I thought I would do is to have a little highlight about some of our more popular Utah authors as part of a little mini celebration here on my channel, and remembrance of back in the day when we had a huge party for our Utah authors. So let me start. I've got my list here, and I think, should I go through? I think since I'm down here in the books, I will pull some off the shelf and show you some of the Utah authors I have here on the shelf, which are, I'm not going to go through all of them. That would be too much and too crazy. So I'm just going to, like I said, highlight some of the more popular ones, the ones that I think maybe you guys have heard of. And you can pretty much bet that any of these books that I am showing you are signed books, because I've probably met them all, yeah. Okay, we have Shannon Hale, who is pretty popular for the Goose Girl series. Goose Girl, In a Burning, Forest Born, I can't remember what the other ones are, River Secrets, yeah. So Goose Girl was my introduction to Shannon Hale. We went to a event of hers where she talked about this book, and she wasn't very popular yet. She talked about how she'd been rejected 1,000 times and her story to becoming an author, and now she's like huge. And she's popular for her Princess in Black graphic novel for kids that she's done with her husband. So, and has a whole ton, Princess Academy, a whole ton of mostly middle grade books and some YA books, and then the graphic novels. So yes, Shannon Hill, she's awesome. Then we have Brandon Mole, who is popular for his Fablehaven series, right? I got a few of them here. And my connection to him is that I was lucky enough to help at the library when he was signing books one day, and I got to be his little helper, sit by him for the whole time and see how he interacts with the people, the kids, and he is really amazing. And he's got a bunch of other series too, and he's just going crazy with it. We have our other Brandon. We call them the Brandons sometimes. One time at a library signing, we had both Brandons sitting at the same table together, and that was awesome. Anyway, we also have Brandon Sanderson. Lives just not very far from right here in his own gate. He's famous for his Stormlight Archive series, and also for finishing Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. His first book, Elantris, read it if you haven't yet. It's a good place to start with Brandon. And the Mistborn series, Wheel of Ascension is one of them. I just grabbed it real quick. Anyway, I think I'm going to do a whole video someday about Brandon and my thoughts about him and books I've read and books I haven't read and what people think. I don't know. I just feel like he might be worth an entire video. But my story time for him is that I went to a signing for Orson Scott Card, and there was a bunch of other authors there. Orson Scott Card's line weaved all through the whole bookstore, and Brandon Sanderson was sitting over there off to the side with absolutely nobody at his table. He was brand new starting out, and I felt so bad, and I was like, look at that cute little author who's trying so hard. Oh, I should go buy his book and get him to sign something, but I didn't, because I was too shy to go talk to somebody that I didn't really know, and there was nobody else around. And I will never forget him sitting there as a brand new author, hoping, for some attention. And now he has to limit the amount of people that can come to his signings, or else he would be there all night long. And his signings are crazy. His events are huge, hundreds and hundreds of people. And it's just so interesting for me to have seen him go from that kid with nobody at his table to the famous author that he is now, living in his gated community and being very well known, very, very well known. Anyway, that's my little Brandon Sanderson story, but look forward to someday a whole entire video about Brandon Sanderson. One of my favorite local authors is Ali Condi. She wrote the Matched series, Crossed, and Reached, the sequels, and they are really awesome. But she's got a ton of other books too, and she's kind of started into writing more of some middle grade stuff also. And she came to our book club once. We held it at the library, but it was just our book club, and talked to us about Matched, I think it was. So that was a fun moment. James Dashner was the first author that came to our book blogging party. It was just him, just a bunch of bloggers and James Dashner, and he told us at the time that he had a book in mind that he was hoping to publish called The Maze Runner. Yes, it was way before he published this, and he was hyping it up and being so excited about it, and it came true, and The Maze Runner became popular, became a really awesome movie, and yeah, so he's one of our big time local Utah authors also. Let's see, we have Dan Wells and Rob Wells. Okay, Dan Wells and Rob Wells, they're brothers. Dan Wells wrote I Am Not a Serial Killer in the series, and also Hollow City, which is a crazy, mind-bending psychological thriller. Both really good. The series is really good, and he's got another YA apocalyptic series, which is awesome. And then his brother Rob, here's his two books, Feedback and Variant. Yes, Feedback and Variant. Really good dystopian kind of books too. Kind of border on middle grade. They're YA, but I feel like middle grade kids would really love them too. Jennifer A. Nielsen, I've got a ton of her books. I just grabbed this one because this is my introduction to her. False Prince, lovely middle grade fantasy. And she now writes historical fiction for middle graders, and they are really good and very well researched, and really gives you a feel for what might have been going on in history during those times. Then we have Rita Spain. She was one of the first authors that came and hung out with us as bloggers. The Dark Divine is the beginning of one of her series, and The Shadow Prince is the first of another one. So I love both of these too, and they're based on mythology. Yeah, so that's awesome. We have Julie Ann Donaldson, Edenbrook, one of the best Regency romances, and also, and also Blackmore. They're not sequels or anything, they're just similar worlds, but in Regency romance. but the best banter and funnest romances ever. Brody Ashton is also, her and her friends write a series based on famous Janes and famous Marys, and they take historical fiction and mash it up with fantasy and funny stuff and magic. And she also wrote a book based on mythology. Okay, this is the first series that Brody Ashton wrote. Everneath is the first one, and based on the Persephone series, Persephone mythology, I think. Yeah. So they're really good. Also really good books. And then we have Sarah Zarr. Sarah Zarr writes like kind of deeper, thought-provoking YA. Abortion as some of her subjects, and death, and all kinds of a little bit harder subjects, but really, really good. There's my pile from her. Richard Paul Evans is an author that we have here in Utah that everybody loves, but he is not my most favorite, and I'm not sure I even have any books by him except maybe Christmas Box. Yeah, I don't know if I have that one, but Christmas Box, really popular by him. And he's got a YA series that people absolutely love too. J. Scott Savage, one of my all-time favorite authors. Really love him and his stuff. And I just recently read his book called the Lost Wonderland Diaries. Yeah, yes, the Lost Wonderland Diaries. He also writes Far World and the books that go along with those. So yeah. Oh my gosh. Jamile Mendez. I don't think I have any of her books on the shelf right here, but she's another one that's becoming, I remember her starting out, she was a blogger with us, and then her books started becoming popular and famous, and Reese Witherspoon added them to her book club, and now she's a thing too. It happens, people, it's crazy. Jessica Day George, I can't find hers for some reason. She writes awesome, wonderful fairy tale books. A few that I noticed when I was walking around, that I didn't put on my list, Sarah Larson. She writes really awesome YA fantasy. And like I said, as I'm walking around, I can see a ton more, but those are the ones that I feel like you might have heard of, or you might be really interested in. Lindsay Levitt is another really good middle grade. Sean Griswold's, or YA, I don't know if I consider them YA middle grade. But anyway, Sean Griswold's Head, one of the best books ever. The Pages Between Us, very similar to a book I'm trying to write, where the girls write notes to each other. I see her at all the events lately, and so I missed her signing at the library while I was gone tending the grandkids. So she's around and loving all of her stuff too. So check her out if you don't know or aren't familiar with her. So I think that's it for this video, and I hope that if you aren't familiar with some of these books that you would go check them out. I would love to know who are the big time authors in your neck of the woods, from your state, from your town. Let me know if there's some that are really, really awesome and that you think I should check out. But yeah, I love supporting our local authors, and I love going to their signings and their launch parties that they have, and seeing them grow from, somebody that nobody knows to pretty famous, being on Reese Witherspoon's book club, to being really famous and having a gazillion people come to their events. And yeah, it's been really fun seeing all that happen. So yay for Utah authors. They're some of my favorites. Until we see you again, happy reading, bye.